Lagos State, being one with a peculiar nature, requires adequate measures in beefing up its security apparatus. In ensuring that Lagos and its inhabitants are safe, the Lagos State Governor reiterated his readiness to work with Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Air Force, the Nigerian Police, and other security agencies. Welcome to the Governor This Week. I am Lekan Onabanjo. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has announced the reopening of worship centers across the state and has also increased gatherings to 50 people per time. The governor in a live broadcast explained that these decisions become necessary following the realities of a decrease in the number of positive COVID-19 cases in the state. He maintained that all that is necessary is for everyone to adhere to the no mask, no entry policy, provision of hand-washing facilities, and observance of social distancing.
As you all know, Lagos State remains the epicenter of the pandemic in Nigeria, but we also, I'm pleased to say that we have set a national example in terms of the efficacy of our testing, our tracing capability, our treatment, and our partnership with the private sector and the federal government under the umbrellas of NCDC and the Federal Ministry of Health. Most of our patients in Lagos recover under our supervision. We now have two pathways through which confirmed cases are managed, either through our home-based care strategy or at our designated COVID care centers. Those people in the home care category are being supported medically with our COVID care pack and psychologically through our counseling, through our numbers. In addition, these individuals are given access to our telemedicine service through our state-owned ECO Telemed, and we're also visited on a weekly basis by our doctors to ensure that they are recovering in timely manner and they are recovering fully. In our isolation center, we have since last night, we've shut down the Etiosa Isolation Center, and we'll also be shutting down the Agidingbi Isolation Center. And we'll be moving all of our patients from Agidingbi Isolation Center to the newly commissioned Indo Center. Furthermore, our infectious disease hospital in Yaba, the mainland hospital in Yaba, will now also gradually beginning to admit other infectious diseases into the hospital, meaning that we are going to be dedicating the COVID tent, which has a capacity for about 160 patients. We'll be dedicating it specifically for COVID patients, whilst we begin to clean up the hospital and begin to get ready for other infrastructural development, permanent infrastructural development that we're planning for that hospital. I'm sure you remember that in June, we further expanded our COVID-19 testing capability in Lagos with the accreditation of 7 private laboratories. In the week ending July 26, 2020, we had successfully tested additional 9,000 samples in Lagos State across our public and private laboratories. This showed a 50% increase over the approximately 6,000 tested in the preceding week. So means that with the inclusion of the private labs, we've also seen additional capacity to test. From the having to test and the needing to test, they've been able to address them from the two angles. We believe that this increase in testing, which in some cases lead to increase in number of our daily confirmed cases in Lagos, this is a welcome development since our capacity to contain the pandemic depends significantly on how successful we are in identifying the existing cases. I must, however, mention that we have seen a gradual decrease in positivity rates in Lagos State over the last 2 weeks, which combined with our increase in testing numbers points to a very encouraging picture of the outcome of our response strategy in the state. We will continue to fine-tune our strategy and our efforts to build on our successes and close all existing gaps, if any. We are partnering our strategy and our response in tandem with what we noticed in a city called Mumbai in India, which has the same kind of demography and the same kind of population index, like Lagos. And like I said, it has the same climate and demography. And we must, however, say that we're also recording similar results and successes as that city also has recorded. Dear Lagosians, having carefully reviewed the current scenario in Lagos, we have taken some important decisions in line with the ongoing objective of calibrating an effective balance between competing demands for safeguarding lives and enabling livelihood of our people. First, we will be increasing the permissible capacity for public gathering from 20 that we had in the past month to 50 persons. This means that at AGMs, annual general meetings, at funerals, at regulated social events, you can actually increase the capacity now. Lagosians should please continue to keep in mind that there is still documented evidence that mass gathering can increase the spread of the infectious disease. As such, all standard prevention and control measures must still be strictly adhered to. Physical distancing, mandatory temperature check, use of face masks in public, and regular disinfection of premises and personal hygiene. These are at the minimum we must continue to enforce and ensure compliance to all of these things. Places of worship in Lagos will now be open from Friday, the 7th of August for our Muslim worshippers, and on Sunday, the 9th of August for our Christian worshippers. But we will only be allowing 50% of their capacity, a maximum of 50% of their capacity at either the church or at the mosque. Church who has a Saturday worship day will also be allowed to start holding their Saturday worship. We must reiterate that places of worship are only permitted to have their regular once-a-week service on designated days. For avoidance of doubt, it will be Friday worship for our Muslim followers and Sunday worship for our Christian followers. We will monitor this for the next couple of days, for the next couple of weeks, and see how the observation and the compliance gets as we move along. So they are encouraged to have multiple services on that day, but they should restrict it to those designated days for worship. In addition, the following conditions must also be met and fully by all the religious centers. Regular service gathering are permitted to hold. Night vigils and other non-regulars should still be on hold for now. We will recommend and will appeal seriously to our senior citizens. If you are age 65 and above, you are still strongly advised not to attend these places of worship. Still stay back at home. You should consider holding services and gathering in large open spaces, well-ventilated areas, as circumstances of faith and tradition permits you. We should still ensure that no face mask, no entry policy are maintained throughout the duration of the service. We should ensure that regular cleaning and disinfection of the facilities must be carried out to maintain a clean and hygiene environment before, during, and after the service. It is mandatory to provide hand washing facility and sanitizers at the various worship places. National emergency numbers and Lagos State emergency COVID numbers also must be prominently displayed at their premises. Handshakes, hugs, high fives are not permitted during service or gathering and should be emphasized and displayed at their prayers at the various corners of the places of worship. There must be signposts to show that all of these things are still not allowed. We should also encourage use of stationary collection boxes, or electronic use, and should still be encouraged at our various places of worship. The flow of human traffic in and out of the place must also be conducted in an organized and in an orderly manner. Restaurants will now be permitted to open for in-dining services from the 14th of August, with a proviso to keep 50% occupancy capacity, meaning that they can now open from the 14th, but ensuring that they keep 50% of their capacity as for in-dining provisions. Social clubs and recreational centers, they will also be allowed to open from the 14th. The ones that have met the condition and have applied to the Safety Commission. Some of them have already met the condition, some of them have applied. Between now and the 14th, they will go back and recertify them and just ensure that they are ready, and from the 14th, they can be open to their members. Clubs and centers that reopen without complying with this mandatory requirement, they will be shut when our enforcers go around. However, we will still not be able to open nightclubs, cinemas, and game arcades for now, but we'll be observing in the weeks after the first opening how the events have turned before we come back to other social activities around nightclubs, spas, game arcades, and cinemas. We will review in the course of the month to see when they can be in a position to open. As a state government, we will be ramping up our monitoring and enforcement work to ensure that all our guidelines and our directives are complied with forthwith. Regarding our secondary schools, like we did mention in the last address, they will be open on the 3rd, which is on Monday, the 3rd of August, and it will only be open to our SS3 students and our Tech 3 students only. This, we believe, will allow them the 2 weeks before they start the participation, in the 2020 WAEC, which I heard it's been stated to start on the 17th of August. So both the boarding and the day students that are in these categories will be allowed to open, from Monday the 3rd of August. All standard precautions must be put in place by our various school authorities: hand washing, physical distancing, and all of that. Officials of Lagos State will be inspecting and qualifying schools to ensure that they comply with the regulation. The Lagos State government will also be making available face masks to all of our students on the first day of their resumption, just to ensure that there is adequate and full compliance. And we will be monitoring them, as we go along. As I mentioned before now, our civil servants in the state's unified public service system are to maintain the status quo in line with the prevailing guidelines, which was issued by the head of service and which is being complied with by the rosters that are being drawn by the various MDAs. Those officers working from home at this time are to continue to avail themselves with the use of the online learning management platforms, which is being used effectively. So we'll continue to encourage them to do so. As I also mentioned in the last address, people still need to start to continue to take full responsibility of themselves and of their loved ones. Self-regulation is the order of the day, and you should not wait for government to regulate you. You need to conduct yourselves, in a way and manner that you are not at risk to yourselves or to your loved ones. You must ensure that you, as a matter of importance, take full responsibility at all times. I would also like to use this opportunity to appeal again to our people to avoid non-essential movements and to try to remain indoors, more so now with the partial closure of the Third Mainland Bridge and the attendant issues around infrastructural rebuild on our various roads. If you do not need to go out, let's still continue to encourage people to do online shopping, online meetings, and online engagements. The roads are still not free for all of us to get into. We will continue to keep you informed and updated on the decisions that we're taking from the public health and safety for all of us. as stated before, managing this pandemic requires a careful balancing of health and economic consideration, and we'll pursue this balancing with a great sense of responsibility. I will continue to thank and acknowledge all our frontline health workers, our non-medical personnel, our drivers, our cleaners, our medical waste collectors, our attendants, for your continued sacrifice and encouragement, in the face of this global pandemic. I also want to thank the private sector for their support and cooperation, for helping us to raise our capacity in testing and treatment of our patients. Just also mention that a few days ago, I commissioned the very first certified face mask production factory in the country, and so this reflects, the belief of our people in themselves, and the opportunity that is also abound, even in this very difficult situation. That particular factory, I'm told, can produce over 240,000 a day. This, in my view, is still the strong belief and the strong entrepreneurial spirit of our people, even given the very uneven economic problems that we're going through as a nation. I think we also need to thank all our various monitoring and compliance team in the state at all levels, and I also want to thank all our security agencies, our police, our military personnel, and everybody that has been in one form of cooperation or the others with us. As I close, let me take this opportunity to celebrate with all of us, and to say that what this pandemic has thrown at us is to continue to innovate, is to continue to think out of the box, and is to continue to think what new ways can we bring about.
Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has called for synergy among security agencies to make Lagos safer for residents and visitors. The governor made this known when the new general officer commanding 81 Division of the Nigerian Army, Lagos, Major General Godwin Omelo, paid him a courtesy visit at the Lagos House in Marina. In his remark, Major General Omelo promised more support to aid the security of lives and property of Lagosians.
As far as security and safety of lives and property of Lagosians is concerned, we have a stake and we are partners in progress. I should take this opportunity to thank you most sincerely for all the support and assistance you have rendered to the military as far as Lagos State is concerned.
Lagos is a bit different from other states. We have our own peculiar needs here, and there's a way in which when I say we now, all of the security formations continue to engage ourselves and continue to work together. We do not leave the security apparatus of Lagos to only the Nigerian police. We work in tandem with the Nigerian Army, with the Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Air Force, the men of the Department of State Security, and other security apparatus, because this is the economic center of the country. And so we understand and we know that both local and international players are here. And so we needed to continue to make sure that Lagos remains safe, remains secure for both its people, its visitors, and its investors.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has beamed a special focus on Badagry, one of the 5 traditional divisions of the state, whose mainstay is agriculture and fishing. The governor went on a tour of a 279-hectare organic farm in Badagry, which was acquired by the state government in 2012 for commercial agricultural projects. He said his government was ready to revive the abandoned farmland for the takeoff of the state's food production park project.
What I've seen is an ability for us to improve our entire intervention in the Ministry of Agri. This place, in my view, We will need to deploy a lot more resources into it, and we can begin to feed in on all of the very little infrastructure that is currently there and how we scale it up. So we need to be able to raise enough resources and complete it and now open it up. We've seen so many things we can do here, from fishing, to poultry, to piggery, to various fruits. Forest, small markets that we can create, into various agroforestry that we can see so many of them. We've only occupied less than 15% of the size of the land we have here. And so this further confirms, my drive to say that Lagos in itself, yes, we're a big state in terms of population, but we also can intervene in our food production value chain, right? So what we're trying to do is, as much as possible, let's produce things that we can also use internally before we begin to rely on external sources.
Governor Sanwo-Olu also inspected the 105-bed mother and child care recently completed by the state government in the premises of the Badagry General Hospital. The governor also stopped at Marina area of the Badagry town, where the state government will be building a modern jetty. The project, Sanwo-Olu said, is part of his administration's blueprint to promote waterways transportation across the state. Cooperation is key to achieving anything meaningful. No matter how daunting the task is, the Lagos State Governor continuously assures residents of support and collaborative efforts with all security outfits to bring about success in that regard. And that's it on the Governor this week, but then you can continue with conversations of the Governor's activities on all the social media platforms showing on your screen. See you next week. I am Lekan Onabanjo.